Yeah. I try not to carry them anymore.
Are all the transistors nowadays self-biasing? Or do you have bias circuits?
No, these are all biased. I have a very interesting driver technology that allows me to have all these transistors in here and still have really good attack, really good tracking, really high bandwidth. There's nothing being loaded down by having too many outputs. The outputs are in nested stages, so and there's many drivers. So an kind of an interdigitated technology that allows me to control the devices in pairs. So it's a very interesting technique, and it works really well.
And so they're biased for life.
Yeah.
They're matched.
Yeah, and we run a lot of biases. Amplifier is about 100 watts, Class A. You don't need Class A, but it suits this amplifier to be warm. I want it to be warm. You know, when you build Class A amplifiers for 40-some years, you know what they sound like and what they look like on test equipment. And you can mimic it. You can make something sound like it's Class A. Everybody asks me if my momentums are Class A. They listen, oh, they sound like Class A amps. I said, no, they're 10 watts of Class A, basically. It's just how you do it, how you do the circuitry. And if you can get to completely understand it, you can make it sound pretty much like a Class A amp. Any other questions?
Yeah, this goes on here and that goes on that side. What's the top plate look like?
It's just it's a flat plate that slides into this groove. And it's got a rounded dome on the top of it. And then there's two more heat sinks on the side of this.
Kind of, I don't know if it's a dumb question, but it certainly always gets me. I got up off of my couch. I walked up to my amp. I always try to touch the side of the heat sink to discharge myself before I touch anything. And I did that. I heard snap.
What kind of amp?
Stereo amp.
Well, who makes it?
Burmester.
Okay. I don't know.
I mean, I did not touch anything.
You got a big snap through your speakers?
Yeah, actually, I got a snap to the speaker.
You running balanced cables?
No.
I would try that.
Oh, wait. From the...
From the preamp to the
DSM,
amplifier?
Yes, it is balanced.
Okay. Well, the only other thing I could imagine is that the ground on your preamp and amplifier are in different potentials. You shouldn't get a sound through the speaker when you discharge into the case.
That really surprised me because they're all plugged into a Furman power conditioner.
Okay, so maybe that's your issue.
That they're not all...
I would plug them in the wall.
Okay.
I mean, I think power conditioners and amplifiers are like fire and water.
Really?
See, I'm the same thing. Yeah, I'm the same thing.
Preamps, okay. Front ends. I mean, I have my whole front end of my system running on a strong talk battery. You know, so all the digital stuff, all the front ends, phono stages are all running on a strong talk. So if the power goes out it's great. But the amplifiers are plugged right into the wall.
So I should go...
So you have to bring that. If you think about this, if your chassis on your amplifier was at ground potential, it couldn't possibly make noise.
That's what I thought. So,
Yeah.
So something was...
So your power strip is floating something.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you couldn't make a noise with that.
Yeah, and then the next question, I think I've touched a button on it, and I know I zapped the button with my finger.
And
I think maybe there was a snap there too.
shouldn't be.
You wouldn't be getting static charge, would you?
Pardon?
You wouldn't be getting a static charge?
I was charged.
No, you were charged. But yeah, this happens all the time. But it shouldn't make any noise through the
I
speaker.
figured you guys would design...
Yeah, I mean, you can touch my stuff. In fact, we use a charcoal grill snapper on all the digital stuff.
Okay.
Get one and just keep on hitting it with that high voltage.
Okay. Wow.
It's a good way to test it. And then you can put it on your grill if the other one burns out.
Now you know I got to take everything away from the wall and start metering out the ground.
You don't even have to do that. If you have just your wall socket, just plug your amps in the wall socket.
Okay.
Take them out of the power conditioner.
Okay. And leave the other electronics.
Yeah, you can leave everything on, all the front end,
Yeah.
but your amplifier should be plugged in a wall.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
What about preamp?
Preamp doesn't, preamp can be in a power conditioner. I mean, I don't use a power conditioner other than I use the Stromtalk in my house because I don't like when the power goes out that I have to reset everything.
Yeah.
So now it never
The
goes.
only reason you do that, really?
No, I mean, it's a really good reason for it, but a power like a Stromtalk, which is really it's making the battery run your AC. Yeah, so it's generating a really perfect sine wave, and it will always do that. There won't be any distortion in the AC line, and it makes it super quiet. So it's totally isolation from everything because the power goes in. You have a regular little lamp cord size plug with your Stromtalk. You plug that in, and then the battery, you can plug your big cables into it, and it produces the power. So it's a totally different. It's not a power conditioner. It's a power generator.
Now, PS Audio has a product which
They have a power generator, but it's active.
yeah.
Batteries are a whole different thing. If your power flickers, you know how it does in the middle of the summer here, and your air conditioner goes on and sometimes it bounces like that. That kind of power conditioner won't help you. If you have a battery, it will help you. If you have a battery running, it's just like what you do in a solar panel, only backwards. So you have an AC signal going in to an inverter, which charges the battery, and then the battery runs the inverter out so that you are actually making AC power from the battery. So there's never a blip or an interruption.
The battery, the internal impedance on a battery is high enough that you don't want it on an amplifier because it'll limit peak current.
No, I wouldn't. I mean, you can use Stromtalk on a amplifier, but we recommend you put it on your front ends. They also make a great big one that's made for exactly what you're talking about, for a big amplifier that has a ton of current and very low impedance, but it's huge. So, yeah.
What's your average size refrigerator, probably?
Pardon me?
It's probably your average size refrigerator.
Yeah. It's about this big. I mean, it's big and it's heavy because it's got a lot.
Typically, the one that you use, how long and how much time do you have on it?
Hey, Alex, how long do you think that the 20? I have a 2500. How long will that last on just the preamp and phono stage? Probably. Yeah.
2 days.
So.
On use.
Any other power conditioning, wiring tricks? Do you think there's anything there for the average audiophile?
Well, I think that I mean, you should check to see if your house is really grounded. You have an electrician come and check your ground. And we live in a super dry area, and I think you need a 12-foot copper bar because an 8-foot's not long enough in some areas to get down to where you actually can make a ground, and then make sure that ground goes to your electrical box and is a good solid connection, and you really have an earth ground. I mean, it really is the genesis of a quiet audio system is having a real earth ground.
But that's for your whole home you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
And then other tricks. You know, there's a lot of people that have these grounding blocks with little wires that run to all their equipment and stuff like that.
Don't ground your equipment together.
Pardon?
Don't ever ground your equipment together. People have grounding blocks, and I'll tell you why. Because if you have, for instance, a tube preamp, most tube preamp chassis are 10 ohms above ground. So you ground it to, let's say, a solid-state preamp or amplifier, and you're drawing current from the amplifier's ground through that 10 ohm resistor. So you're taking something that sounds good and making it worse. So all the different ways people ground and how well they design their equipment electrically So you put them all together, and the lowest common denominator, the worst design, kind of dictates the noise level in the ground when you do that.
So how do you isolate that bad actor from the other stuff?
Don't ground it to the other stuff.
Just ground it to the house ground.
Yeah, just let it be part of your AC ground.
All right. And they have a 12-foot rod.
Pardon me?
And have a 12-foot
I
rod.
think you should. I mean, I think if I was any of you guys who like your sound system, I don't know how much electricians are. Come over to your house, measure to see if you're at earth ground. If your ground post that's driven in the ground by your house is actually grounded correctly. I mean, they have tools for that. And they can measure it. And if it's good, then you're fine. And if it's like my house was not grounded at all. I mean, you connect to it, and it wasn't connected to ground.
Were you able to rectify that?
Yeah, I just took that post out, and some guy came over with a big hammer and drove the big long one all the way down into the earth, and then it was ground.
All right.
I use a well for my water system that goes down 260 feet.
Yep.
Isn't that casing the ground?
Well, that pipe is probably grounded,
So I could connect.
but how far is the well away from your house?
It's not too far from the house, but it's maybe about 20 feet. It'd require a good sized cable.
Yeah, you need to. I mean, you're dealing in milliohms, so you'll have to have a cable like
Yeah.
that. I mean, house ground is much easier.